I used to love living alone because of the freedom and comfort it provided. But after the incident a month ago, that thought has turned into a deep fear in my heart. Hello, I'm Hannah, a 25-year-old office worker. The story I'm about to tell is a terrifying memory that still haunts me. I used to walk to work because I lived nearby, but later, every time I returned home, I felt like someone was following me. One time, I caught a glimpse of a shadow behind me, but when I turned around, there was only a dark, empty alley. One day, while I was working in the living room, my phone rang, displaying an unknown number. Hello, who is it?
Hannah, you look beautiful in that nightgown tonight.
Who are you? What do you want?
You'll find out soon enough.
A chill ran down my spine, but I bit my lip, trying to shake off the fear and focus on my work. Moments later, a sudden knock at the door made me jump. My eyes darted toward it, an indescribable unease creeping over me. Who is it? It's already this late. I went to the door and looked through the peephole, but I didn't saw anyone, just a long, empty hallway. Unease settled over me, and I sank into my chair, unable to concentrate on work anymore. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a key turning outside. Someone was trying to break in. My heart pounded, and before I could react, the door swung open. A man stepped in, his cold gaze locking onto me. A large scar marked his eyebrow. It looked familiar, but panic clouded my thoughts. Who are you? The man didn't answer. He just walked slowly toward me, pulling a small knife from his pocket. Don't come here, I'll call the police. He ignored me and kept advancing. Out of fear, I grabbed a vase from the table and hurled it at him. The man slightly tilted his head and raised his hand to shield his face. Seizing the opportunity, I quickly grabbed the phone from the table and dashed straight into the bedroom. My hands trembled as I tried to dial the police. Outside, his heavy footsteps stopped in front of my door. I suddenly realized that the police couldn't arrive quickly enough, so I had to find a way to save myself first. I hurriedly rushed to open the window. It was late at night with no one on the street, only the dim streetlights flickering in the dark. The lock trembled slightly, then the sound of metal clinking echoed through the tense atmosphere. There was no time to hesitate. I dropped to my knees and crawled under the bed. Right after that, the sound of the door opening echoed as the man's footsteps entered, each step slow but steady. I held my breath, lying still and waiting, hoping he wouldn't notice. As the man moved toward the window, I seized the opportunity and bolted for the door. I dashed toward the main door, but before I could reach it, he grabbed my hand and yanked me back. My whole body was thrown hard onto the floor. A sharp pain shot through me. I groaned softly, trying to prop myself up with my hands, trembling as I crawled backward.
Don't waste your energy. You won't escape.
I suddenly recognized the familiar voice. He was the pervert who had just been fired from my company. I never expected he would target me this time. Luke the pervert, stay away from me.
Hannah, you make it impossible for me to look away.
I shuddered, trying to jerk backward to escape him, but his rough fingers tightened around my chin, keeping me from moving. I trembled and shouted at him, "Let me go."
Don't rush, Hannah. We still have plenty of time.
My gaze suddenly stopped on the shards of the vase scattered on the floor. I quickly reached out, trying to touch the nearest shard. I tightened the shard in my hand, took a deep breath, and suddenly swung it up to stab his neck. He clutched his neck in pain, loosening his grip on me in an instant. Without hesitation, I staggered to my feet and ran towards the door. Just then, the police burst in. I scrambled behind them, panting, my terrified gaze locked on Luke. I stood there, my breath still rapid, my heart still beating irregularly. My legs felt like jelly after everything that had just happened. Finally, everything is over. After that incident, I moved to another area to live with a friend, no longer daring to stay alone. I hope that after this story, you will be more cautious, especially the girls who are living alone.
Have you ever gotten lost in the forest? I had a terrifying experience that still sends shivers down my spine every time I remember it. The images from that day are etched into my memory, never fading. My name is Linda. I am 20 years old and a second-year economics major. I have two close friends, Mike and Mark. We've been inseparable since we first entered university. But after our mountain trip last month, one of us never came back. We had planned a trip to a mountain about 60 kilometers from our university, a place known for its untouched scenery and fresh air. We arrived early in the morning, with fog still blanketing the mountain, creating an eerie yet exciting atmosphere for adventure lovers like us. By noon, we finally reached the summit. Looking down from above, it felt as if we could see the entire city stretching beneath us.
It was really worth waking up early today.
Let's take a picture together. In the afternoon, we packed up and started making our way back down. However, after walking for a while, something felt off.
It seems like we are lost.
What should we do now? It's getting dark. We have to contact the rescue team.
No way. There is no phone signal here.
Maybe we have to stay in the forest tonight.
It was getting dark, and the further we went, the more exhausted we felt. Our food and water had run out, but fortunately we came across a stream, so we decided to set up camp there for the night.
I'm having a really bad stomachache. I need to go to the bathroom for a bit.
A long time passed, but Mark still hadn't returned, making us start to feel worried, so we searched for him together. Suddenly, slow, chilling footsteps echoed ahead, as if someone or something were approaching. Looking through the flashlights, we saw a man in black walking towards us in the distance. Who are you?
Today will be your day of death.
As the man pulled out a blood-stained knife, a wave of fear surged through me. Without thinking, I grabbed Mike's hand and we bolted into the darkness. While running, my foot tripped over a trap. A sharp pain shot through my ankle and I fell to the ground. Mike skidded to a stop and ran back to me. Desperately, he tried to free my leg from the metal jaws of the trap. I looked up and saw the man's shadow closing in on us. Panic gripped me. I wanted to scream, but terror strangled my voice. Finally, Mike managed to pry the trap open. Without hesitation, he lifted me onto his back and carried me forward, running as fast as he could. Mike kept carrying me for a long distance through the night. Then we saw an abandoned house in front of us, so we ran inside and treated the wounds. He laid me down on an old bed, looked at me with concern, then quickly sat down to bandage the wound on my leg. Mike had just finished bandaging my wound when footsteps echoed outside, and we hurriedly crawled under the bed. From the inside looking out, I saw the man's legs slowly stepping into the house as if searching for prey. Mike and I tried not to make a sound, holding our breath as we stared at the feet walking back and forth beside the bed. My foot suddenly touched something soft beside me. When I turned to look, it was the corpse of a man, his eyes wide open. I jumped back, recoiling instinctively, letting out a soft gasp in the stillness. The man's legs suddenly stopped and he walked over to stand in front of the bed. Mike and I clung tightly to each other in fear. The man chuckled softly and said,
Got it.
We were dragged outside by the man and tightly bound. Mike and I kept pleading for our lives, but he didn't pay any attention.
Please don't kill us. Please let us go.
You have no choice.
Suddenly, a bullet struck the man's hand, and the police rushed in from outside and surrounded him. It turned out that the man was a wanted murderer, and the corpse I had seen earlier had been killed by him. The next morning, the police discovered Mark's body at the bottom of the ravine, covered in multiple stab wounds. Those horrifying images remained vivid in my mind. The mountain climbing trip, which had seemed full of joyful memories, had turned into a nightmare in my recollection.
I have a friend named Emma who is 25 years old. She once had a beautiful love story with a man named William, who was 3 years older than her. At first, William loved and spoiled her, making her believe she had found the perfect partner. But soon, his love became suffocating and turned into a nightmare. William controlled Emma too much. He didn't let her meet her friends, not even her closest girlfriends. When she couldn't take it anymore, she decided to break up. But William didn't let her go easily. At first, he begged her desperately, but then he started threatening her. One day, he kidnapped Emma. She woke up in a strange room, her hands and feet tied tightly. William spoke softly.
Hello, my love.
William's voice was gentle, but it sent chills down Emma's spine. She tried to move, but the ropes were too tight and hurt her wrists. Emma shouted angrily.
Let me go, William!
William tilted his head and smiled.
You are mine. I won't let you leave me.
He walked closer and touched her face. Emma tried to turn away, but she couldn't do anything. William wanted Emma to love him again and obey him. He clenched his teeth and said,
Emma, say you love me. Say it!
Emma struggled, but the more she resisted, the tighter he held her. She yelled,
I hate you! I regret ever loving you!
Hearing this, William's eyes filled with rage. He immediately slapped Emma hard. Emma felt a burning pain on one side of her face, and the sharp sting made her dizzy. William shouted angrily,
I did everything for you. And you? You want to leave me? You betrayed me.
Emma screamed back.
William, you are crazy! You disgust me!
William became more furious. He punched and slapped her repeatedly until her lips bled. The days after that were a never-ending nightmare. Whenever she resisted, he beat her, starved her, and left her weak and trembling. But after hurting her, he would hold her close, kiss her forehead, and comfort her like a child. Emma soon realized that the more she fought back, the more violent he became. She spoke softly.
William, I'm sorry for hurting you.
She knew she had to act the way he wanted, at least until she found a way to escape. Without waiting for his reaction, she smiled gently and said,
These days, I realize that I still love you.
William seemed surprised by her reaction. His eyes widened in shock. Even though she wanted to push him away, Emma held back. She had to think fast and find a way to escape this horrible place. William smiled happily.
Good girl. I knew you still loved me.
Emma then said softly,
William, I want to hug you, but my hands are tied.
Without hesitation, William untied her ropes. Emma watched as he loosened each knot, feeling relieved inside. She gave him a weak smile and whispered,
Thank you, William. I love you.
William smiled with satisfaction, stroking her head like a pet. Emma then saw a bottle of wine on the table. Slowly, she walked over and poured some into a glass. She handed it to William and smiled.
William, I am really happy to be with you.
William was completely off guard. He took the glass of wine from Emma's hand and brought it to his lips to drink. Seizing the moment, Emma grabbed the wine bottle and smashed it over his head. Emma ran to the door, but it was locked. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open it. She looked around the room, searching for anything to help her escape. Then she saw a rusty iron rod in the corner. Without hesitation, she grabbed it and used all her strength to hit the door. After several strikes, the door finally broke open. Emma ran outside without looking back. Later, she called the police, but when they arrived, William was gone. There were no signs of torture or blood in the apartment. In fact, the apartment was Emma's home, but she truly believed she had been kidnapped. The police thought she had mental health issues and sent her to the hospital for treatment. A few days later, they found a man's body in an abandoned house outside the city. His body had multiple stab wounds from a broken wine bottle found at the scene. After investigating, the police confirmed that the victim was William. They also found Emma's fingerprints at the crime scene. However, when they questioned her, she had no memory of killing William. After suffering such a huge trauma, Emma could no longer tell what was real and what was just a nightmare in her mind. Now she is in the hospital, receiving treatment for PTSD and paranoid disorder.
After 5 years as a delivery worker, I never thought a single order could cost me my life. That night, close to midnight, I received an order for 2 servings of chicken rice. The delivery address was a house on the outskirts of the city. Even though I had a bad feeling about it, I had not received a single order all day, so I gritted my teeth and accepted it. When I arrived, I saw an old, desolate house standing alone in the middle of the woods. A cold gust of wind blew against me, sending shivers down my spine. I knocked on the door, but no one answered, so I took out my phone and called the customer.
The door is unlocked. Bring it inside.
I hesitated, but pushed the door open. The musty smell immediately filled my nose, making me grimace. The air inside was cold, as if no one had lived there for a long time.
I have your delivery. Is anyone here?
At that moment, the sound of a knife chopping down on wood, thick, heavy, and sharp, resounded from a room inside. I jumped, my heart pounding. Carefully, I tiptoed toward the door, and the scene before me made my stomach churn. A man was chopping a human arm. On the table, severed body parts were laid out in pieces. I screamed in terror. The thick, metallic scent of blood choked my throat, and I collapsed onto the floor.
You harmed someone. I have to call the police. Stay and help me, or I'll put you on this table next.
My entire body froze at his words. Fear forced me to turn back and help him pack the body parts into black bags. Each time my hands touched the cold, lifeless flesh, it felt as if thousands of insects were crawling over my skin. After we finished cleaning up, he ordered me to dispose of the black bags. Trembling, I carried them to a deserted riverside, tossing each one into the water before hurrying away. But as soon as I turned around, the man was already behind me, gripping a knife tightly, his cold eyes staring into mine.
You did well, but you still have to die. I did everything you asked. Please let me go. Let you go? You've seen everything. You can't live. I promise I won't tell anyone. Just let me go. The only way to keep a secret is to take it to the grave.
With that, he lunged at me. I dodged just in time, the blade grazing my arm and burning my skin. Enraged, he raised the knife again, his grip tightening as he thrust forward. On reflex, I grabbed his wrist, stopping the blade just inches from my face. His strength was terrifying. I used all my force to shove him back, making him stumble. Seizing the moment, I grabbed a rock from the ground and hurled it at his head. He cried out in pain, clutching his head as he staggered. I sprinted to my car, speeding away as I called the police. But by the time they arrived, the man had disappeared without a trace. A few days later, I returned home only to be greeted by a horrifying sight. A bloodied human arm lay in the middle of my floor. On the wall, a message was scrawled in dark red blood. You will have to disappear.
Did you really think you could escape me?
I spun around, locking eyes with the man. He aimed a gun at my head.
Please, I'll give you anything you want. I want your life.
In that instant, I grabbed his wrist, struggling to wrestle the gun upward. A gunshot rang out. The bullet struck the ceiling, sending dust falling around us. I jolted, loosening my grip, and he kicked my stomach hard, sending me crashing to the floor. I tried to push myself up, but before I could, his heavy foot slammed down onto my chest, pinning me against the cold tiles.
Don't waste your strength. You won't escape.
At that moment, my hand brushed against my phone in my pocket. Without hesitation, I yanked it out and hurled it at his face. With every ounce of strength left in me, I scrambled up, shoving him aside as I dashed toward the door. But before I could get far, A gunshot rang out. A searing pain shot through my leg, and I collapsed onto the floor.
You little rat. Let's see where you'll run now.
I refused to give up. Gritting my teeth, I crawled forward. Another shot rang out, piercing my other leg. I screamed in agony as my body convulsed and the world blurred.
Say goodbye to the world.
Suddenly, the door burst open with a loud bang. The man froze, eyes widening in shock. Before he could react, a bullet shot straight into his chest. Dark red blood slowly spread across his shirt. Police officers swarmed in, surrounding the house. I exhaled shakily, my body going limp as I shut my eyes in relief. It was finally over. I was rushed to the hospital, my legs soaked in blood. Though the killer was dead, the memory of that night haunted me every second of my life. The images replayed in my mind like a never-ending horror film with no escape.